First off, I just want to say thank you for taking part in the interview. Uh, you've been around in the esports scene for a while now, and primarily as a coaching analyst in the Call of Duty scene. However, it's been nearly a year since you transitioned to casting, debuting at the EU Call of Duty Challengers Elite 1 in 2022. What was it like making the transition, considering you were fairly well established in the coaching scene?
Honestly, pretty straightforward. I bet there's a bunch of questions just in general in terms of like, how complex it was to transition my knowledge to broadcasting, or even kind of delve more into how I just even thought of the idea to go into broadcasting. It really came down to simplicity. I just did not enjoy coaching anymore. It reached the point really where in Europe as a coach, it's too broad to sort of achieve the level of employment you want. I know if you get very lucky, let's say you've got a top 8 seed in the European region, and you get signed to an org and on like about $500 a month because that's the standard for coaching. It's sim more as like a secondary pastime to a part-time job. So you just, in terms of your life evaluation, there isn't really much reward in a job role that, particularly in Call of Duty and esports in general, could be quite a thankless job. So when I gained the knowledge of coaching for 2 to 3 years and now Call of Duty works and know more about the players for more intricate values of broadcasting, I just went, you know what, screw it, let's get into broadcasting because I think I've got enough material and enough knowledge and enough presentation to do a good job of putting a product out that I think viewers will like and the bosses would like. So yeah, that's how I got really into it. But the establishing part was kind of hard because when it came to my last year of coaching, I did fall out of a lot of the European coaches. Even when time in NA, it was really tricky to get used to some of the teams over there. So it just made no sense to me to make this move.
So, I mean, the transition has clearly been worth it. Casting's going very well for you, having cast in every iteration of the EU Call of Duty Challengers Elite and EU Call of Duty Challengers Cup ever since. The change, as you said, was definitely worth it, but would you recommend trying to chop and change for people that are trying to come up in esports?
Um, would I try to chop and change? I mean, I made the change realistically just to kind of fulfill my long-term esports career. I think if I was to highlight the next 20 years of my life and if I was to choose a job in esports, I'd do commentary because if you do it well enough, then you can just travel the world and you can commentate over different games, meet different people. It's quite a traveler's job. It's really, really good in terms of if you're an extrovert naturally and you want to go out and speak to people and interview the best players in the world. You just have a natural aura and a natural sort of enthusiasm to go out and do it, right? There's no real way of beating around the bush there. But yeah, even then again, it was going to be a straightforward decision for me to go to casting because in 2020 I did some commentary for the elites and for some other European leagues in Call of Duty. But back then I had like no equipment. I had like a headset microphone. It was really terrible, and I was solo casting a few things, so it just it didn't really feel good. But this year, now that I'm with Narski, my duo for majority of Call of Duty, it's quite an enjoyable process. It really is rewarding. Is the key word. It's really rewarding. Just sitting down and learning COD together and presenting it in a good way. Because again, when you see you got like thousands of people watching you talk about a game, it's quite euphoric.
Yeah, well, it clearly seems like like we said, you're doing very well. And considering your success casting, but also in coaching, coming second at the 2020 challenges with Team Singularity and securing 24,000 US dollars as the team's analyst, as well as making a name for yourself by working with professionals such as Insight, Drill, and Phoenix in the past. What would you say is the key to being successful in multiple sectors of the esports industry?
Oh, just having the hard work and the raw passion to go out and actually try and do it. First of all, that's the first building block. Then after that, it's just understanding the sort of culture and climate you're in and the people around you that want the same thing. Because again, it's a tiered process, it's a stage process, and the tiers in Call of Duty vary quite a lot from the bottom tier to the very top of the CDL. You'll see lots of different iterations of the game, lots of different players, people, and it's just about putting the correct combinations together to beat them and try and secure yourself a win or a chip in this case, which is American slang for a championship. I think after 2020, when I finished my NW season with Singularity and I got re-signed for Cold War, it was pretty good. I mean, I really enjoyed the feeling of getting re-signed again, but that was very short-lived because the team fell apart in March, and then after that, I had my experiences working for Passion and a bit of Elevate before JP came in, and just after that, I just took a nice little extended break. I had many different things in Cold War that just sort of kept things going. Like I was working with Magic on Train Hard Esport, and that sort of sorted out or seed out the rest of my 2021 year. 2022 went to Trash Bows in NA Challenges, and it was a good experience. 'Cause my first NA exposure as a coach or as an analyst, and I had a 4 team of like me, Sharp, VOs, and Bursted. That was the original 4 coaching staff, and worked really well. Delegated tasks to each other, brought lots out to players, brought different elements to the field, like in terms of the actual VOD review, brought psychological review, brought some S&D strategies. So we really were trying to create a well-rounded team, but yeah, after a period of time, I just genuinely, during my first university and my last year in coaching Call of Duty with Trash Bows, I just fell out of love with it, and nothing really just seemed to make sense. So I just completely halted my activity in January 2022.
So you clearly say that, and you clearly show that you had good connections with people. You had a good like lifestyle. How does your day-to-day lifestyle differ from being a team analyst to being a caster now? Especially as working as a caster is a lot less direct with players themselves.
Oh, I mean, listen, I think the best perspective you can compare casters to teams. I think me and Nasty came up with this idea of like seeing all these teams in their circles as different little bubbles, and you're just sort of there overseeing every little bubble and sort of how it works, and whether bubbles can, just sort of come together and form bigger circles, or whether they just completely fall apart. It's just storytelling. That's what casting is. At the end of the day, it really is just storytelling and keeping things relative to, what the viewers are going to see of the game, how you yourself want to present your image of the game to them, and creating something that's really fun and enjoyable to watch, something that really grabs the reader or the viewer's attention off of their second monitor. Because let's just say they put this up on the second monitor and doing work, we want to create a broadcast that just sort of draws you away from your day-to-day work, and just it completely engages you in what's happening on the screen.
And well, yeah, as you said, you're trying to create an immersive environment, especially for viewers. And as hard as it must be, because you're fairly new to it, would you ever consider moving from casting, or do you think you're settled in casting? And potentially, is there another sector of the industry that appeals to you? I know we see a lot of esports flexibility within the industry, but you seem to love having your hand in every aspect.
I'd say the best answer to this is I have experienced hosting fairly often. My first ever hosting experience would be in 2022, when I had to do a project with the last years of my esports degree, where where they had to run an event, and I was involved in the broadcast team alongside like Zola, Rayless, Drudge. There was quite a few people. Oh, and McIver or your gunner, John. I'm gonna start with just sitting down, storyboarding, writing ideas how I want to present this, and my role as the host pretty much was to be on stage and being players, and got a real joy out of that. Loved it, and I was cherry picked for that role by Fred and Brandon Smith. And it was my first real instance of going out and doing hosting, aside from originally even touching casting at this point again. Done more events since then. I've hosted Epic LAN. I've hosted the Oxford Cambridge Varsity match. I should have some more events coming in the pipeline pretty soon that you'll see me doing in studio, but that's what I'm going to say for that. Yeah, I'd say broadcast, though, will always be my future in esports.
Nice. Well, it clearly seems that you're passionate about whatever you do within esports. And how has being able to host these events, you say broadcasting is your future, and as much as you love hosting, how has being able to host the events almost fueled your passion for casting and knowing that you want to cast in the future?
I just enjoy it. I mean, other than being like involved with these great projects and seeing them succeed, I mean, lots of hosts enjoy the exposure of getting their personality out onto camera. They really enjoy as well engaging with people that are the best in their field. So they will, completely immerse themselves into understanding how they work, what they do. Alongside that, trying to connect the best players in the world with an audience watching them. So it really is a two-pronged process of keeping both these people happy and entertained. You really are like a middleman. That was why it is so, so enjoyable and so good.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for the interview. Thank you for your time. I hope casting goes really well for you. I'm sure we'll see you all over our screens in the future too.
Thank you. See you later.